Right here with directors. Today's live, I appreciate you joining. I wanted to focus on VA loans. So we do a lot of VA loans, love helping our, veterans and active military, but kind of wanted to dive into some of the key details of a VA loan and some of the myths out there about them. So first off, VA loans. So there is a general eligibility that has to be met, whether it is active military with enough time to be eligible per the VA guidelines, or retired military veteran. So there's certain guidelines we can check. So the very first step, if you've been in the military or are in the military now, is for us to ensure you have VA eligibility. Typically, that's either enough time served in the military during an inactive, war period, or a much shorter time during an active war period. So there's a couple of guidelines they give to say, hey, after X amount of duty, you are now eligible for this VA home loan benefit. So that's stage one, something we can easily help to check into for you guys and review to make sure we're good to go there. So once we know we're eligible for a VA loan, what are the perks of the VA loan? So one of the biggest ones out there, guys, is zero down payment. Now, not a ton of zero down loans left. There are some, but this says zero down payments. That's a giant perk for us. Number two, no mortgage insurance. Again, most loans with less than 20% down, there's mortgage insurance, which costs money. So VA has zero mortgage insurance. That's a great perk. Number three, no specific loan limit. Most loans, FHA, USDA, conforming loans, they have some type of loan limit based on the county. If you have full eligibility for a VA loan and you do not currently have a VA loan, technically we could do $1 million, $2 million, whatever loan amount we want, which is pretty dang cool again to think about. Hey, we could have a $1 million or even $2 million house, zero down, no mortgage insurance. And that last piece, VA rates are aggressive. They are definitely better than other loan programs out there, such as conventional in most cases. So it's a really, really cool program with all those kind of key highlights for buyers to take advantage of if they have that VA eligibility. So those are some of the perks to it. Now, a couple of details on it. The first one I wanted to talk about is I know so many clients over the years may buy a home with VA, but then eventually want to buy a bigger home, or, whatever that might be, move to the next house, rent the current one. And a lot of times clients think I can't have two VA loans at once. So I must sell one VA loan in order to sell that home with the VA loan on it before I can buy the new one. That is not the case. It is okay to have, two or even multiple VA loans at once. The caveat is we have to check an eligibility calculation. So it is not unlimited. So for example, if we have an existing VA loan, there's a certain amount of your eligibility that is already used in a sense tied to that existing home, meaning you have a remaining portion. So we can say, hey, based on that remaining portion, the county loan limits and what price you're buying, could you be eligible for a full VA loan? Now, what I see in a lot of cases is clients are absolutely eligible for a VA loan, but a little bit of down payment is required to meet that eligibility. So I like to put that out there because I have done this a ton of times for clients and a lot of folks didn't realize that. So for example, just help a client put together a deal. He has a VA loan now. He does plan on putting money down, which is great. He didn't think he could do another VA, but between the remaining eligibility and his down payment, we more than meet the guidelines and are able to help him get right into a second VA loan at the same time as his first and take advantage of, again, no PMI and those awesome VA rates. So if you have a VA loan now and you want to buy a new house and keep that existing, or even sell this, just not sell it prior to buying, reach out to us. We're happy to help run that calculation. So that's a huge myth I want to make sure clients know is it is okay to have two VA loans at once as long as we run the calculation and see the eligibility limits for you. So the next piece for us, guys, is diving into the guidelines a little bit about VA. Oftentimes, VA gets a bad rap out there of being a really strict loan. Ironically, when we look at VA debt to income ratios, some of the other VA guides, they're more lenient. They're more flexible on credit score, more flexible on debt to income ratio. So don't feel discouraged if you've heard, hey, these VA loans might be stricter in this. Not the case. So again, like any loan we do, we'll help with the full detailed pre-approval for you, have our VA underwriter review it. But I would say more often than not, if I take the exact same client, we're going to qualify for more of a house VA than we would conventional. So it's an awesome option, again, to help that. And in that same case, if we take two prices or the same home, conventional versus VA, this honestly typically ends up VA as a lower rate and lower payment to boot. So it's a great scenario there. Now, in that vein of VA being difficult, unfortunately, I see a lot of times in the marketplace, agents think, okay, unfortunately, a VA loan is not going to be as attractive to the seller, or a listing agent is unwilling to take one, which absolutely bums me out because, again, most VA guides are more flexible. So I think the number one focus they're thinking about is the appraisal. So on VA, a VA appraiser does go to the property. Now, with that for us, sometimes the appraisal takes a tiny bit longer to get back as part of it. But really, when VA reviews it, their goal is they want to make sure the property is sufficient and safe for the veteran. So the idea is not to be super difficult, yet to make sure the home is a good home for the veteran and something's not ever taking advantage of that veteran. That being said, let's say the home needs a little bit of work. I would say less often than thought, not that many items are called out. Occasionally, there's a major issue that pops up, and it is called out in the appraisal. Now, I would say more often than not, before the appraisal was done, the veteran already negotiated this with the sellers. They saw this themselves. So I rarely have a surprise that pops up. But what we can do is we have what we call a holdback. So let's say you're a VA buyer, you want to buy a home, and your agent's a little concerned that, hey, if we make an offer on this house based on the condition, they may not be willing to do it because it's a VA loan. Or if we went VA, we may have all these issues arise. Number one, we probably won't see that many of those pop up as they think. But number two, if something does, two options. You can either have the seller negotiate to have that work done prior to closing, or if they're unwilling, we can do a small holdback. Very simply, we get some bids from contractors to see what that cost is and have that money set aside, whether that's part of the down payment, whether that's out of the loan, or whether that's from the sellers for the work to be done after closing. So I've helped a lot of VA buyers get their offers accepted by communicating with their agent and the listing agent that we have flexibility. Don't worry about that VA appraisal. If one or two little things pop up, we can address it with the holdback, still close on time with normal terms. So I love to mention those couple pieces because I want to help every VA buyer we can take advantage of this great product. But those are couple key pieces to kind of overcome some of the stigma in the marketplace about VA loans being trickier to close. A couple other pieces for us to go through, guys. As far as the loan itself, no prepayment penalties. VA loans are assumable. So oftentimes, as you go to sell this house down the road, based on what rates are, a client can assume that current mortgage. We've been seeing that a lot the last year here, and that can make your house that much more attractive. You lock in a great VA loan down the road. When you sell, they have the option to take that loan over, which is rare. You don't see a lot of assumable loans left. There's special eligibilities for like a surviving spouse situation that can be beneficial. And then one of the other great things with VA, they have an awesome refinance program. It's called a VA Streamline Refi. So at any point, we've done a VA loan for you. You're closed, you're in your house, rates come down. This VA Streamline loan helps you to refinance without the need of an appraisal and without the need of requalifying. The mindset there is VA goes, hey, you have an existing VA loan at X rate. You're already making your payment on time. So if the rate comes down and the payment comes down, why do we need to do everything? Which makes absolute sense. We're simply just reducing that interest rate and payment. So it's a very quick, easy, and cost-effective way to refinance. So that's a great mindset I buy today. With this VA loan, I can continue to move that down as the market turns for us. So those are a couple of key pieces for us. So I think that's most of what I wanted to hit on today, guys. My number one mindset here is VA loans are awesome. So if you have potential VA, we should absolutely dive into the details of it, but also that there is some myths about VA in the marketplace. You can absolutely have a second VA loan if we run the qualifying calculations properly. The appraisals are easy to overcome if there is any issues, which is rare, but if there is, by addressing it with a holdback. Qualifying power is actually stronger on VA than others. So keep those in mind. Again, if you're VA eligible or unsure if you are, reach out. We're happy to help you, chat through the details. And of course, always happy to put together particular options for any scenario. Thanks, guys, for joining today.